Last week, we started with 68 schools with dreams and hopes. It was eliminated down to 16. Now, over the course of the past 2 days, we're down to what's called the Elite Eight. And nobody saw any of this coming in full fashion. Some people might still be alive, but most of us have a giant red X going through our brackets, and they're completely busted wide open. With that, let's talk about the Sweet 16 and the games that were. Believe it or not, I don't want to start with what most people are calling the biggest two upsets. We'll get to that in a minute. Let's start with the game of the tournament thus far. Thursday night, the 6:30 game. Michigan State, Kansas State. Game of the year, 98-93, the Fighting Ann Kretzingers. All right, wow, Kansas State. And Marcus Noel, NCAA record, 19 assists. It was almost like Sparty was afraid to guard him. And that no-look argue with the referee alley-oop, yeah, that's going to make one shining moment. I'll tell you what right now. Another great game. I don't know which one was more impressive, honestly. So please, when you comment on these videos, here's one of the areas you can comment on. What was more impressive? Gonzaga's defense not allowing UCLA to score a bucket in the final 12 minutes of the game, which unfortunately did me in. I was kind of having UCLA go to the Final Four. Or Drew Timme with his 36 points and pretty much 50% of the offense for Gonzaga. Either way, the Zags are in the Elite Eight, and that UCLA-Gonzaga NCAA tournament rivalry lived up to expectations once again, if you were able to see it. This tournament has set an NCAA record. First time ever, folks, that all number one seeds are eliminated before the Elite Eight. Two were gone on opening weekend. The other two went down during the Sweet 16. Darian Trammell led the way for San Diego State, pulling the upset of Alabama. Unfortunately, the SEC went 0-3 on this weekend and is fully out. So the number one overall seed was knocked out by San Diego State. And honestly, that second half, and even throughout the game, besides like a quick spurt of a run, they were the better team. Brandon Miller had a bad game. You could tell that all those side conversation things, and we're going to keep it nice and say that's affected him. He did not have a good game. And Quinterly, I mean, I have to give him respect is due, but it was more than he and Clowney could handle. And San Diego State was just the better squad on that particular night. San Diego State advances. The other number one squad to go down went down to the Fighting Jim Larranegras of Miami. The former George Mason coach, who's been to the Final Four before with Mason, now has a chance to go back with the Hurricanes. This was just a beatdown. Auburn, I maybe exposed Houston to something because Miami then took that game plan and had a week to prepare almost, at least 5 days of rep. And in doing so, Nigel Peck went off on Houston. And this game was honestly one-sided and an afterthought. I joke and say my brackets were busted on day one, game one, because I had Arizona in the championship game. But the reality is I had Arizona losing in the championship game to Texas after knocking off Kansas State in the Final Four. So I still have two Final Four possibilities remaining. Texas is my projected champion, and I'm glad Texas did what you're supposed to do. It wasn't a thrilling, what would come down to the wire, buzzer beater, or can you make one last defensive stand? No, they did what they're supposed to do, and the better team survived, won, and advanced. Cinderella is still alive in Florida Atlantic. John L. Davis, for the second time in as many games, proved he was the best player on that court. Tennessee, man, I tell you, Rick Barnes has never made the Elite Eight. And maybe there's a coincidence there after a while. Sakai Ziegler being out, maybe that was the difference maker. But Tennessee's fatal flaw all season long, as phenomenal as their defense is, you can say this about Houston as well, they couldn't make shots. And you kind of got to make shots in order to win the game. And that's something Florida Atlantic can do. And Florida Atlantic proved they can play more than the run and gun style that they like to play. Now, what's going to set up for an interesting game tonight is Florida Atlantic, Kansas State. Run and gun versus run and gun. This is going to be a track meet, and get your popcorn ready. This one's going to be must-see TV. The Creighton Blue Jays survived and advanced past Princeton. And it's no longer the Pete Carrill Princeton Tigers, but they're still Princeton. And they're still, that team you enjoy seeing as the ultimate underdog. There's underdogs, and then there's the ultimate underdog. And Princeton, at least in the world of college basketball, is going to be an ultimate underdog. Creighton with head coach Doug McDermott, better team, bigger team, advanced, and now they're playing for the rights to cut down the nets to go to the Final Four. The beatdown of all beatdowns came from the Connecticut Huskies. Danny Hurley, I think he's finally starting to get national recognition. He just knows how to coach, and these guys are peaking at the right time. Arkansas is loaded with freshmen, and Arkansas has talent. And so for Arkansas to lose the way they did, I think that's more of a compliment to UConn than saying Arkansas laid an egg. Jordan Hawkins was the best player on the court that particular night, but Connecticut was the best team. And this one was over before you knew it. Connecticut might be the dark horse to win this whole tournament. Over the next 2 days, there's 4 games remaining, the Elite Eight. Each winner of the games advances to the Final Four. What was your games of the Sweet 16 or the main takeaway of the Sweet 16? Make sure you please like, subscribe, and comment below. Thanks for watching.